Good evening, a warm welcome to parents, carers and students. This is our options event. It is obviously now remote rather than face-to-face. My name is Will Teese and I'm the head teacher at Brookvale Groovy Learning Campus, and I'm really pleased to welcome you online tonight to give you the information that you and your children need to make confident choices around the options process. This options process would typically take place face-to-face in school. You would have the opportunity to talk to subject leaders, to talk to staff, to talk about which subjects that you think your child is going to be most appropriate at and excel within. I think it's fair to say that those questions will still remain, and if there are any questions, please do not hesitate to contact the school at any point during this process so that you can get the support and the guidance that you need to make the right decisions. We can direct you to the key staff and there is lots of support available to you. Tonight, we're going to go through a number of different bits of information. Miss Hubbard, who is the Deputy Head Teacher in charge of curriculum, is going to do a lead on the presentation. There's also an options booklet that runs aside the process, so you should have everything that you need at the end to start to consider what choices you'd wish to make. Alongside that, we've got our own on-site careers advisor, and we have got access to careers platforms online that can inform this process so the students can start to think about their career aspirations on what subjects that are going to set them up for their futures. It can be quite a challenging process, so take your time, certainly talk to teachers, certainly spend time talking to one another, read the materials that we've provided, go through this presentation again. It's recorded so you can come back to it if you want to, and please do ask questions. I'm going to hand over to Mrs. Hubbard now. She's going to lead you through the presentation. I hope you find it useful and the best of luck in choosing your options.
Okay, thank you, Will, and good evening. I'm just going to take you through the Year 9 option choices, talk you through the range of subjects we've got on offer and the process over the next few weeks and the support that will be in place. So, choosing the right courses. First of all, I just want to hopefully put your mind at rest that it's very difficult to not choose a good range of courses, because our core curriculum that all students will have to study is a good range of courses anyway. So I don't want anyone to feel really stressed about, do I really need to choose this or that? I mean, you will end up with a really good, well-rounded range of courses. So the first thing I'm supposed to think about is if your child knows what they want to do, if they've got a really clear future career in mind. Now, I would say that the vast majority of parents listening to this and their child won't have a clue, won't know, and that's absolutely fine. Most students of the age of your sons and daughters don't know what they want to do. So then I would go to, well, what are they good at? Things that students are good at tend to be the things that they do the best in. So what do they enjoy? What do what lessons are really sort of they're enjoying, that they're learning best at? So those would be good ones to pick. But also, how do they learn best? Because we've got a range of different subjects and different learning styles within those subjects. So it's really important to have a look at how things are assessed. So you might want to have a mixture between coursework and end of 2-year exams, just to try and relieve the stress, or just to have variety. So think about learning styles of your child as well. So you'll be sent a link to the option booklet shortly, and so it's go through that booklet with your child. There's a bit at the start that sort of talks to you about, in general, the sort of things that I'm talking to you tonight. But talk to the teachers, get your child to talk to the teachers, tutors, discuss at home, take advice. There's plenty of time over the sort of 2 months that you've got to do this process. So we'll be sending you a link next week, both yourself and your child, to our option booklets. So have a really good read of it. There's plenty of time to read it. So on each page each subject has got a page, and in that it sort of gives you the course overview, it gives you the content, it tells you how it's assessed, whether that's an exam or a piece of coursework, and it tells you the sort of qualities that you might need to be successful in this course and the skills that you need to be able to do, and the sort of pathways into post 16, so you know where you can go with that GCSE. So it's a really good idea to read through it, particularly, you know, once you get down to a short list, really go through that and have a look at it. So you'll notice that some of our courses are GCSE, some are BTEC, some are OCR National, some are Cambridge Technical Awards. So we've got a range of courses available at Key Stage 4. In fact, we run 4 different types of qualifications. So I'm just going to talk you through them all briefly now. So the majority of our qualifications on offer are GCSE. Most GCSEs you will learn for 2 years, and you will do an exam at the end of that 2 years, and you will get a grade 9 through to 1, 9 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. A good pass at GCSE is considered a grade 5. A standard pass is a grade 4. And employers and places of higher and further education may specify this grade on entry. So that's GCSEs. I'll sort of come back to them in a minute. All the others are vocational awards. So anything that's not a GCSE is considered a vocational award. And vocational award just means it's work related. It's related to a job. They are the same level. They are equivalent to GCSEs. They have got the same level of rigour, same level of saleability out there with employers and universities. Then they're graded from distinction star level 2 down to a pass at level 1. So they've got a whole range of different gradings on there, but they are equivalent to the GCSEs. So with the vocational ones, because they're linked to World of Work, quite often they're assessed in a slightly different way. There may be more opportunity for coursework there, but there's an exam element to all courses at Key Stage 4 now. I mean, even with some GCSEs, although they're not linked to work, there'll be a big sort of coursework element. So a lot of the design and art GCSEs will be assessed throughout, as well as doing an exam at the end. So just trying to explain it a little bit more, we've got sort of 2 very similar qualifications. We've got PE, which is a GCSE, where you'll learn a lot about the body and training and nutrition, etc. And you've got sport. And although you'll learn very similar things in them, the sport as a vocational qualification is linked to the sort of job you might get in sport, working with sport. So, you know, if you're considering that, the teachers will help you choose the right pathway. So 2 pathways to choose from, the e-baccalaureate pathway or the general pathway. So you can see that at the start of both of those pathways, the core subjects are the same. So students will study English, and within English, they will get 2 GCSEs. They'll look at English language and English literature. So they'll do those as separate GCSE qualifications. All students will study maths. And for some of our students, we may offer the opportunity to do further maths as well as a GCSE. So there'll be 1 or 2 GCSEs there. All students will study science. The vast majority will do that through the combined science, where they will get 2 GCSEs, which will combine their learning of biology, chemistry and physics all together. The other 2 subjects there are non-examine subjects, but equally important. It's really important that we keep fit. It's really important that we go through all the life skills, such as careers work, you know, personal and health and safety sort of work as well. So that's the core for all of our students. And you can see within that core that we've got 5 or 6 GCSEs already. And then this is where the pathways are different. So if we go down the English Baccalaureate pathway, students will need to choose a language and a humanities subject. So they'll choose either French, German or Spanish, and they must have studied the one that they choose at Key Stage 3. and they'll choose either geography or history from the humanities. And then they'll have 2 further options that they can have free choice from an option list. If they go down the general pathway, then students will choose an e-baccalaureate subject. So the e-baccalaureate subjects will be the languages, French, German, Spanish, geography or history. They can then choose separate sciences. Any student that chooses separate sciences, they will have the option time plus the time for the combined science, and they will end up with 3 GCSEs, a biology, chemistry, and a physics GCSE. Or they can choose computer science. And because they've only chosen 1 English baccalaureate option, they will then have 3 further options from that option list. Now, in terms of which pathway, I would suggest and recommend that students who are wanting to go on to university, have really high aspirations to get to some of the top universities or the top courses at universities, really consider the e-baccalaureate pathway. And then really should only move away from that pathway if there's very good reason to. We want students to end up with the best qualifications that they can get. So if that isn't going to happen down that pathway, then they may need to move away from it to the general pathway, but they need to consider that pathway really seriously. So a little bit about the baccalaureate pathway and why it's important. It's sort of our most academic pathway. It's sort of a range of 5 subjects that the government sort of put together a few years ago and said this was a really good core curriculum for students. And so those 5 subjects are maths, English and science, which is in the core, and then a language and a humanities. So if you're wanting to do the baccalaureate pathway, it means that you must choose a language and you must choose humanities subjects. You've then got 2 additional options once you've done those choices that you can take. And within those, you can take further e-baccalaureate subjects. So there's no reason you couldn't do Spanish and French, for instance, or history and geography. Good universities are going to look back at students' GCSEs to see if you've got this balanced academic background and can achieve well across a range of challenging subjects. But they're also going to look at the grades that students get as well. So you've got to weigh those 2 things up, and I'm certainly happy to talk to students individually if they've got worries about that. But it's about getting the best outcomes, really. So what if you think that you're not going to get the best outcomes if you do the e-baccalaureate pathway? Well, that's fine. Look at the general pathway. You'll still have to take 1 e-baccalaureate subject, and the e-baccalaureate subjects are the languages, are the humanities, but within this, 2 other e-baccalaureate subjects come into play: the triple science, so turning the combined science into 3 separate sciences, or the computer science. And then if you go down the general pathway, you've still got 3 additional options to choose from across the whole range of subjects that we do. And again, these can be more e-baccalaureate subjects as well as any of the other options. What I would say, just say a little bit about the science, that for most students, combined science is enough. But if students know that they want to go down a sciencey route and want to do A-levels in science, then I would ask them to really consider the triple science, because it really gives the students a better grounding to be able to cope with the A-levels. But certainly as a teacher of A-level science, I teach students who've come both routes, and I would say by Christmas they're of equal standing. But it obviously just takes a little bit more work. Right, so these are the option subjects. So if they're going down the e-baccalaureate route, they'll choose 2 from this list. If they're going down the general pathway, then they'll choose 3 from this list. And you can see there the range of GCSEs, the range of BTECs, Cambridge Nationals, etc. And the ones that are in yellow on there are the ones that are the e-baccalaureate subjects. So it's perfectly possible to choose 4 of those. But I would say try and choose a range, try and choose a range of different learning styles, a bit of variety, choose what you're really good at, choose things that might be useful in the future. So there's a range of subjects on there. Those are the subjects that are on offer. We don't always, or we're not always able to run all those subjects. If we've got very low numbers picking those subjects, then we may not be able to run all of those subjects. So can I do any course? Well, there are some restrictions on entry. So first of all, there are grade restrictions to do computer science and separate science. So those two e-baccalaureate options that we've got. So computer science is very maths heavy. So we expect a certain level of maths in order to be able to go on to computer science. We've got ICT, which is using computers. Computer science is more the programming of computers, and therefore the math skills need to be very solid behind the scenes. So there's a certain grade in maths that you would need to be able to get in order to do computer science. And there's a certain grade in science that you would need to be able to get to do separate science. So if you're thinking of those, then you need to talk to your computer science teacher. Students need to talk to their computer science teacher or their science teacher and their maths teacher in order to see if they would be accepted onto those courses. But there are other restrictions as well that are to do with the government because they class certain things as being too similar. So you end up with the same qualification. So graphics, art and textiles would be classed as the same qualification. So if you want to choose any of those, you can only choose one of those. And the same with drama and performing arts. You would only be able to do one of those. We also run parallel courses. And again, so GCSE PE and the BTEC sport. So again, you would only do one of those. You wouldn't do two of those. And your PE teachers would be able to guide the students onto the best course for them. So this year, the option form is going to be an electronic one, and that's going to be sent to you and your child, actually, after all the assemblies have taken place. I don't want people rushing at that form. Certainly, I'm not going to look at those forms until the deadline date. So when that form comes to you, which will be nearer the end of this half term, there's going to be instructions sent along with it on how to fill it in. All forms need to be completed and back with us by Monday, the 8th of March. And it is important that this deadline is met so that we've got time to process them and to look at them and make sure we can get all the options organised. So that will be the deadline. All of that information will be sent out with the options form when it gets to you. So support we provide. Obviously, I'm doing this parents' evening now, but I'm going to do a very similar sort of presentation to students next week as part of their assembly programme. Also next week, all students and parents are going to be sent a link to the option choice booklet. And within that, at the start of it, it explains the process and we've got all the information about every single subject. Following on, the following few weeks, we've got subject assemblies. So each individual subject leader is going to be talking about their subject and talking a little bit more about what they might do in that subject, what they might learn, what's good about it, where they can take that subject. So students and obviously those assemblies you'll be able to watch with your child as well. And so you'll be able to find out more than you can find out from the booklet. So we want students to listen to those so that they can make really good choices. There will be time, and there has already, I think, been time within life skill lessons to reflect on skills and future career ideas in order to help students make option choices. So the life skill lessons at the moment are going alongside this option process. And of course, tutors will happily support their tutees to talk about the options or to help them fill out that option choice form if they need that sort of help. And we always offer, although we don't do it automatically, we always offer the option for any student and parent to have a one-to-one interview with us. We can organise that. Clearly, it will be a virtual interview, but you can have an interview with myself or any other member of SLT. Or if you want, a faculty leader, if you're trying to decide between subjects, or the careers officer. And once we send out all the information out, we'll also send you, a link so that you can let us know that you would like a one-to-one interview. So I'm just going to hand over to the careers officer, who's going to just talk a little bit about the career support that we offer. So I'm over to Hayley Diamond.
Good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. I'm Mrs. Diamond, your careers advisor. Now you're about to take your first step to shaping your education and career path, you may want to think about having a career one-to-one. In a career one-to-one, you set the agenda, depending on what you want to get out of the session. We could discuss how subjects fit together, and if you know which subjects you'd like to do, we can discuss further educational pathways through to employment. If you're undecided, we can discuss subjects and explore whether they would suit you. We could do this through looking through the pros and cons of each subject. We can discuss anything career related, as there's a vast amount of careers information out there to sift through. We could discuss the career related opportunities inside and outside of school and anything to do with employability. That includes writing CVs, interview techniques, looking at application forms and finding part-time employment. If you'd like to book a careers one-to-one, you can email me directly or you can ask your tutor to put in a request.
So thank you, Hayley. So what happens next? So we will begin working on the option choices after the 8th of March. If there's no first come, first serve, as long as the deadline is met, then everyone has equal chance of getting onto the options that they choose. And we try really hard every year to give students as many of the options as we possibly can. So when you're doing the option choices, there will be reserves put on there. They won't automatically go on to the reserves. Someone will be in touch with your child if we need to use reserves. Certainly, it'd be very bad if I can't get the first 3 out of the 4 option choices. But obviously, I'll talk. If I can't manage the option choices, we'll talk to individual students and we'll inform parents and students about the final option choices in the summer term. If your child realises they've made a mistake once they've submitted the form, then they need to contact Miss Titkin. And at the end slide has got Miss Titkin's contact details. So as soon as possible, after your form has been handed in or sent in, you'd need to contact her if you know you made a mistake or you're concerned about it. The option choices need to be right. There's very little wriggle room in it, very little room for manoeuvre, and a very small window of change that we would offer once year 10 starts. And obviously some courses will be full and therefore change can't happen. And we don't like moving people after the first couple of weeks in year 10, otherwise really important content is missed. So it's, so take this time. You've got really over a half term to really think about the options and have plenty of time to discuss them. So our timeline, starting next week, I'm going to do an options assembly, and the link to the course and subject guide will be sent to all parents and students and will be available on our website. Following that, the following 3 weeks, there'll be subject assemblies for the students, so giving them more information about each subject, and hopefully that will help them make better choices. During February and January, if students want to start getting that thought process, then students will get support from their tutors and the support that's in life skills that's already happening, help them choose their options and complete the option form. And then by the 8th of March, all option forms need to be completed. Sometime in June, we will be notifying students to which subjects they've been allocated to study at Key Stage 4. That's our sort of timeline. So contact once the forms have been filled in. If there's any queries about the forms or any changes that you want to make, then this is the person that you'll contact, Angela, who's the curriculum officer and works with me, and that's her email address. So just contact her with any queries if you need to. So thank you for listening tonight, and I hope that's been useful as a starting process, but we'll obviously send you out contacts with any other people that you might need to chat to, or if you want one-to-one interviews. So thank you, and good night from me.